Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then welcome to my channel, and today is going to be my August 2025 reading wrap up. We have a ton of manga, 3 audiobooks, and then 1 physical book to talk about today. I will have the content warning site I can find linked down below in the description along with links to some resources. And let's go ahead and get started here because it's a lot. We just have to start. So one of the first things that I did in August was make a list of a lot of the manga series that I want to read, and I gave them all a number, and then I had a random number generator pick 3 of them, and then I did a reading vlog. So that is what these first 3 manga series that we're talking about are. Starting with volumes 13 and 14, and then chapters 125 and 126 of Jujutsu Kaisen by Gege Akutami. And this follows a high schooler who spends his days with the occult club and visiting his hospitalized grandfather. However, he soon gets exposed to the world of curses when he unknowingly encounters a cursed item, of which he ends up swallowing. And this item ends up being the finger of the king of curses, and with these newfound powers that the finger gives him, our main character is enrolled in the Tokyo Prefectural Jujutsu High School, where he begins his journey of becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer. I feel like every time I talk about this series, I'm talking about the Shibuya arc, and it's because I just can't get out of it, no matter how much I actively want to. Not because it's bad, no, it is very good, it is amazing. But I do very much wish to be free from like the emotional toll that is taking me to get through it. But yeah, these chapters were rough emotionally. I will say I do think that it landed harder for me in the anime, but like it still left me drained, so like what am I even comparing here? I also feel like I realized how much I love the art style of the manga with these volumes and chapters. It is very violent, and I both hate and love how graphic it is on occasion because it's jarring and it adds to the intenseness of the situation and the action scenes as a whole. But again, it leaves me sad and drained, but that's just part of the fun, I guess. Next, we have volumes 1 and 2 of Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. This is an action comedy manga about a spy who has to create a fake family for his mission. That family ends up including an assassin and a telepath, and they're all keeping their real occupations or power from each other. These 2 volumes were a lot of setup for this series, which it is the beginning of the series, that makes sense. But this is also the 3rd time that I've experienced the beginning of this series because I've watched the anime twice. So yeah, the setup definitely did feel a little bit slower than usual. And I don't really ever care about the world building or just whatever is going on with Lloyd's spy mission outside of just like the cute found family stuff. Because what I love most about this series is just like the cute and fun found family stuff and all of the comedy and the gags. And these 2 volumes gave me a good amount of those as well. Some of my favorite chapters are from those beginning chapters. And I adore Anya so much. She is such a star. And I do really want to read more of this series soon because I want to use the manga as a recap for when this upcoming season of the anime comes out, which I think is happening sooner than I thought that it was. So whether I will actually make that happen or not, I don't know, but it would certainly be ideal. And next we have volumes 23 and 24 of Haikyuu by Haruichi Furudate. And Haikyuu follows our main character who wants to be the best volleyball player ever despite his shorter height. These were both fun. I will say volume 23, not really my favorite, but I did have a good time with what was in front of me. Volume 24 gave me the characters and the storylines that I wanted and really loved back, but I still had a great time with both of them for the most part. I just had a better time with volume 24, and every time that I talk about this series I feel like I talk about how much nostalgia that I feel for it, and yeah, that definitely hit a little bit harder than usual, and I love it for that. It was really comforting and again just really fun, and I feel like there are some really exciting things coming after this volume that I'm excited to read. And next up we have an audiobook, which is These Vengeful Gods by Gabe Novoa, and this follows our main character Crow, who is a descendant of a god named Death, whose descendants were all murdered, but our main character is one of the ones who escaped and is now living in the shallows with their uncles, and also fighting in an underground fighting ring until their uncles get arrested and they need to enter the Tournament of the Gods to save them while also navigating the politics of the rich and the powerful. So I didn't have the time that I wanted to with this Wicked Bargain by this author, so I was a little bit worried about this book going into it, but I was very quickly immersed and invested in this book and in the characters, and I really loved the characters, and I thought that the world itself was interesting. There's a lot of conversation about classism and genocide, and there are a lot of real-world parallels and connections there for sure. I also just feel like everyone and everything really came to life. I also really love the romance as well, and just the relationship and the dynamics that the characters had with one another. It was so cute and sweet, and I just enjoyed seeing them working together and just navigating the situation that they're in. There's also a relationship relationship in here that's part of the romance that I thought was super interesting and complex at times, so I really liked that as well. I also thought that there was interesting magic and strategy being used when it comes to the action scenes, and I just really had a great time with most of this, and I say most because I didn't really have a great time with the ending of this book. I thought the ending portion went way too fast. Like, I didn't love the pacing here at all, and in a way it felt like it erased all of the investment and immersion that I felt in this story up until that point, which made me very sad. I am a little bit more over it now, just like looking back on the book, but still, it's there. There was also a reveal that I thought was extremely obvious, to the point where I thought that the characters figured it out immediately. Like, I didn't expect it to be just like such a huge drawn out reveal for them, so that did unfortunately miss for me too, but otherwise I have a lot of love for this for sure, and I ended up giving these Vengeful Gods by Gabe Novoa 4.75 out of 5 stars. And next up we have another audiobook, and that is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This takes place in a corporate dominated spacefaring future where exploratory teams are supplied with security androids, and we follow a self-aware sec unit who is scornful of all humans and wants to be left alone for self-discovery purposes, while the team investigates the truth of a neighboring mission. One of these days I am going to find a spacey sci-fi book that I really love. I love the aesthetic too much for that not to happen one day. However, today will not be that day. This is a first of a series of books from the Murderbot Diaries, which is also a show that I haven't seen, but people seem to really like and have a lot of fun with, and same with the books, honestly. Like, that's why I went into this so optimistic, but I just really couldn't get into the actual storyline, and the book felt too short for me to really get into any of the characters other than Murderbot, even if I really wanted to get into the found family of it all, because I did really appreciate the vibes of it that were there. But what I did really enjoy was the internal monologue of Murderbot. There were some really great lines in there that I found really charming, and this book was a lot of internal monologue, so I had a really good time with that aspect of it. And I also thought the setting was interesting as well, but everything else I did just feel very like mid about, sometimes even a little bit lower, so I ended up giving All Systems Red by Martha Wells 3 out of 5 stars. And next up we have the first 4 chapters of Oblivion Battery by Echo Mikawa. And this follows a star pitcher and catcher duo who were unstoppable together during their middle school baseball careers. They have crushed the dreams of many, including Taro Yamada, who has since quit baseball and has now enrolled in a high school where there is no baseball team in sight. That is until he discovers that his 2 new classmates are that unstoppable duo, and he finds out that the catcher has since lost his memory and now has no interest in the sport. I have been wanting to read this manga for a while. I have ever since the first season of the anime ended, and now it is finally on and available at Manga Plus. So now is like my time, and this did make my top 10 anime of 2024 last year because it was just so ridiculous and stupid that it came right back around to fun. But the series also feels very self-aware about it too, like they know who and what they are, which is also part of the fun for me, I think, and why it works so well for me. I also really like their concept. I think they do like their sports manga stuff really well, which also just feels refreshing because of the concept. The characters are, I'm actually not sure that I have words for them. Like, this series has some weird and wild comedy and some very large personalities, and I do think that some of that comedy might be landing worse for me in the manga than it did in the anime, which could be a problem, but I am still having a lot of fun here, even if I haven't loved it all. And I do think some of that is just because this is the second time that I'm experiencing the beginning of this series, so it does feel like a recap, but I also think some of it is just them. They are renewed for season 2 though, and I do want to have the manga read by the time that that comes out, so I'm gonna keep going here. And next up we have volumes 15 through 18 and then chapter 76 of Kimi ni Todoke From Me to You by Karuho Shiina. And this follows our main character Sawako, who has always had trouble fitting in due to her horror movie character-like appearance. However, everything begins to change when she befriends the most popular boy in her class. So it was around the time that I made that list that I mentioned earlier in this video of just like all of the manga that I want to read that I realized that it had been a year since I had read anything from this series, when I had just such an amazing time reading this series in the summer last year and was waiting for like the spring summer seasons to start reading it again. And you know what? Late summer still counts because I had an amazing time with this series in August. And it honestly felt like I had never even taken that break. I still really love the characters and it just felt really cozy and cute as a whole. It's a series that I do think is really relaxing, even though there is drama and angst here. And some of that drama and some of that angst does feel like of its time. This is a little bit of an older series at this point, and it doesn't always feel like the most original thing in the world nowadays. nowadays. But for the most part, I think that they do what they do really well. I love the friendships. I love the main romance so much. And there are just so many cute and funny moments that make my heart so happy. And next up, we have Zyla and Kai by Kristina Forrest. And this follows Zyla and Kai, who run away together during a school trip, which surprises everyone because they've been broken up for months. A breakup that actually didn't surprise everyone because Kai is a hopeless romantic while Zyla is more cynical when it comes to love. And we alternate in between the past and the present as they become friends, fall in love, and eventually break up. This was from my summer TBR because, well, 1, the cover is adorable, and 2, it has an amusement park on it. And it's been a few years since I read I Want to Be Where You Are by this author, but I do remember thinking that that book was cute as well. And Zyla and Kai was also a very cute book in the beginning. But by the end of this book, I unfortunately just didn't really love the relationship anymore. And that's part of what I like about this book because it does feel a little bit like right person, wrong time on occasion. And this book really does dive into it and the characters' individual storylines and just where they're at in their lives. And also their past and how it's impacting them now in their relationships. It gets messy. There's also some very YA drama happening here. And I was really invested in it. I also liked how YA this felt. And I do really like the characters and I really wanted good things for them. And I also like the amusement park scenes and I do think that it was the summer read that I wanted it to be. And I really like the structure of the book itself because I feel like the mystery of the present timeline kept me really excited to just keep reading to get to those chapters. That being said, I didn't love the writing style of those present chapters specifically because I did feel a change in the writing style from the chapters that were set in the past to the ones that were set in the present. And I also just didn't really love the ending that much, so yeah, let's just summarize this review by saying that the chapters that were set in the past, I really enjoyed them. I was super invested. The chapters that were set in the present, still really invested, but not having nearly as great of a time. And I do have very mixed feelings about the romance and do lean a little bit more towards negative, but this book is also so long that the positives do outnumber the negatives for me, and I ended up giving Zyla and Kai by Kristina Forrest 4 out of 5 stars. And next we have our final audiobook, which is The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. And this follows our main character Mars after their twin sister dies under horrific circumstances. And wanting to learn all that they can about her and her death, Mars enters the prestigious Aspen Conservatory summer camp and seeks out the Honeys, who are a group of beautiful and terrifying girls who tend to the beehives behind their cabin. And Mars is certain that they are somehow connected to their sister's death. And I also have some mixed feelings here because I read this for the summer horror. And I actually do think that I like the horror aspect of this the least. Like, some of it just didn't really form in my brain like it should have, and I spent a lot of those scenes just really confused. And I just didn't always get the feelings that I wanted to from those scenes, and they're feelings that I would generally want from a horror story. But I also thought the concept itself was refreshing, and I appreciate how different it felt from anything that I've read or watched before. And there were a couple of moments that did work for me. I also really liked our main character. I thought that the relationships were interesting, and I also thought the investigating and navigating that our main character did was interesting. Like, there's a lot that I really appreciated about this book for sure. It just didn't fully come through for me in the way that I really wanted it to. And it also felt a little bit long at times. I didn't super love every single part of this story, and there were times where I didn't feel as invested in certain sections as others. So yeah, I did like this. I liked a lot of it, just I didn't really like it all of the time. And I ended up giving The Honeys by Ryan LaSala 3.75 out of 5 stars. Okay, so it is now time to talk about all of the other manga chapters that I read this month from the series that I'm currently caught up to and reading as they update over on the Shonen Jump and K-Manga apps, including from Shonen Jump chapters 36 and 37 of RuriDragon, chapters 206 to 209 of Blue Box, chapters 169 to 172 of Akane-banashi, chapters 89 to 92 of Kagurabachi, and chapters 45 to 48 of Ichi the Witch. And as for K-Manga, as always, I am only as caught up to these series as I can be without using points to unlock the chapters, since I am currently saving those points for another series that needs a lot of them. But anyways, we have chapters 143 and 144 of Gachiakuta, chapters 187 to 189 of Windbreaker, and chapters 159 to 161 of The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. And my favorite chapters from the series that I just listed were from the series that I expected them to be from after last month's chapters. And that is The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. They have started a storyline that I have been really interested in and excited for them to really dive into. There's a lot of the story before this that has built up to what is happening now, so it's a really big one on for them, and it's just nice to see it finally getting tackled. And as always, I love the characters and the relationships here. They're some of the sweetest characters that I have ever known, and the relationships are also just as wholesome and cute, and I really love them a lot, and they always shine, but I do feel like this arc is going to allow them to somehow shine even more. But otherwise, I really liked Akane-banashi and Kagurabachi's chapters. I also had a lot of fun with Ichi the Witch this month, but I also do have a small rant about Blue Box, who actively angered me with their chapters, because I do really love this series. I still really love this series, but there was something that I was really enjoying and kind of getting invested in here that it feels like they took away from me. And like, I want to trust them. I want to trust them with this relationship and with these two characters, but it really feels like they set one of these characters back in a way that just doesn't fully make sense in my brain. And I just don't really know why they went this route, and I am upset, but I am going to try to like trust them and that'll work out eventually, because that is how much that this just isn't gelling with my brain and my heart right now. Like, it has to work out eventually. Like, there has to be a larger plan here, because why else would this happen? Okay, so that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye.